Welcome to the hottest real estate topics on the planet, keeping you up to date with all the creative ways to buy and sell real estate without bank qualifying, so anyone can build real income starting today. Here is another great show with Dealmaker Bill and Pete the Rookie.
All right, here we are at yet another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies.
Unbelievable.
358 episodes, Peter. That means that our listeners can get over 358 hours of training for free. And if you listen to our podcast, you definitely know we give the store away when we're talking. So if you want to learn creative real estate, this is the place to be. Abso-freaking-lutely. What do you think, Peter?
I come every week.
Me too.
No, folks, when I first got with Bill, he would sit me like once a week for an hour and try to teach me stuff. And it got like, God, I don't want to do this anymore. Neither of us. This is wasting time. So I figured, let's make a podcast. Everybody will learn, and I'll sit here and learn as everybody learns. And it's kind of worked out that way, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
Yeah.
All right, the name of today's episode is Why So Many Rookies Lose Deals Without Boundaries. What the hell could that mean?
I know.
What the hell is Bill talking about now?
Just keep talking. We'll try to figure you out.
Not a sexy title, but I promise it's going to be one hell of a podcast. Here's the description. In this thought-provoking podcast, we will delve deep into I got to get my eyes clear here. I really need glasses, and I'm not wearing them, so there you go.
Oh, you don't have them yet. Go to the doctor.
My eyes keep getting out focused. So I'll start over again. In this thought-provoking podcast, we will delve deep into the fascinating world of deal making and explore the common reasons why rookies often find themselves on the losing end of negotiations. Today, you will get tremendous insight that will help you uncover the untold reasons behind the high rate of rookie professionals losing crucial business deals. I don't mix words, Peter. Rookie professionals.
Oh, God, you did say that. Rookie? Oh, that's rude. That's rude.
During this insightful discussion with some personal antidotes and expert advice, you may find yourself shedding those paralyzing emotions with some practical tools that will allow you to finally grip a hold of those personal, creative real estate goals. Finally. You will soon catch yourself peeling back the layers holding you back by uncovering the barriers hidden and keeping you from your dreams. And it is really, really simple once we show it to you. So, if you are ready to rewrite the rules and unlock the knowledge and confidence necessary to conquer finding and closing gargantuan deals, this podcast is for you. Listen now and seize the victories you deserve. It is time to shed that persona of being a rookie and move on up. Uh-oh.
Oh, man. Hey, you set the bar pretty high there for this one podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Get the rookies to be like one notch above and get out of the rookie hole.
So here's the housekeeping aspect of it. I have officially, a few podcasts ago, made some announcements about my life. I'm doing what we call learning out loud because I have an aim, but I don't have a direct goal yet. I know exactly how I feel and what I want to do, but the feeling that I have is I want to stop training rookies. The reason why is because, first of all, they don't need me anymore, Peter. I don't need to be one-on-one to train rookies. And the reason why is because I created a software called Creative REI Replay. And yes, we are connected to REI Replay. We have two owners that own REI Replay, and we are a sister company of REI Replay. It is a CRM software. In any event, I'm not here to pitch you like the software, but my training in that, I've tested it now. We have hundreds of users, and the results are phenomenal. People that have been through $50,000 worth of coaching, that are brand new, they go in there and they get results usually within the first 30 days. And I say usually because some people kind of don't really work the system they would do, or they have massive technical challenges and it takes them 2 or 3 weeks to get started. And it's not normal, because we set everything up for you. They just have trouble understanding how everything's working. They want to go in there and figure out the nuts and bolts, right? So yep. Here's the analogy that I have, and I'm not trying to present this, it's just that I'm trying to make a point here. This is like driving a car. Like, you need to know how to operate the car, but you don't need to go under the hood and figure out how the engine runs, or how the transmission works, or how the tires work, or you don't have to do any of that. That's what this is.
You don't have to be a mechanic. Yeah. You have to be a driver.
You got to be a driver. And that's what we've done. The reason why I'm telling you that is because in the chat, or I say the chat, I always do that. In the description of where you saw this podcast or saw this video, there's a link there, and one of my newest elevations of trying to help more people is I set up my own AI. So what I did is I have a tool. It's not ChatGPT like most people think. It's my own AI. I had some developers help me with it, and you can go there and you can ask any questions about creative real estate, including sales questions, because my intention is to actually put it in Creative REI Replay, so that when you're on the phone and a seller gives you an objection, you can put the objection in the AI and it gives you an answer.
Wow.
Right? And I plan on eventually, I don't know when I'm going to do this, but be able to do comps and be able to do some math on there. So it's a place for people that are curious about Creative REI Replay. I'm sorry, I said creative real estate. People are curious about creative real estate. Mm-hmm. It's just a page. There's no selling or anything on there. It's just a URL, and that link is in the description. So go click on that link, and you can get free access. I promise you, within a couple of weeks, that link will change. Right now, it's just a raw link right to the tool. Pretty soon, you will have to opt in, because I'm going to want your email address and all that stuff. So go there and get it now, and I won't even know you're using it. Okay? So that's my 2 cents. If you would like to join us on the podcast or have questions, we record every Thursday morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can go to Facebook, you can go to YouTube, or you can go to Twitter, and wherever they allow you, just type in Flipping Houses for Rookies, and you'll find the video, and all our videos, all of our podcasts are there. Or if not, then on Monday mornings, the Monday morning after, in other words, this is Thursday morning now, next Monday, the podcast will be on all of the podcast platforms, iTunes radios and all of them. I don't even know half of the ones that we're on. So I do, because I go check comments. And then in final, make sure you leave us a review and subscribe to us. Okay? So enough of that. Here we go. So Pete, I thought today I would take a stab at another stab, because I've done this several times, at some rookie false data stripping.
Right.
What I mean is, time and money are not related. Now, there's a theme here, because this podcast and next podcast is going to be the same thing, so they're kind of unison. They kind of go together. So, like I had touched upon in episode number 357, the scariest story in creative real estate deals today, the story you're telling yourself is the biggest barrier most have to overcome. So in podcast number 357, I kind of told you, that's the story you have in your head is the problem, but I didn't tell you how to really solve that problem. So today we're going to tell you, so I told you what the problem is. Now today I'm going to tell you how to solve that problem. Okay? See, time and money have no relationship in this world. We just tell ourselves they are related with one another in our conversations in our own head.
Well, doesn't a lot of that happen because most people go to some building where the longer they stay there in a chair doing something, the more money they get.
And to your
Right?
point, Peter, as a young adult, we are conditioned to associate time with money. I make $20 an hour type talk. Just what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Or how about this lie? Time equals money.
Yeah, equals.
Yeah. So I think that came from the British. I think the British gave us that. Time
Really?
equals, yeah, it's a very stately time equals money. Right? And I have all the rights to say that because I'm 1,000% British, English.
Oh, the whole thing, you're not mixed at all? Completely English, huh?
My mom has some Scandinavian and stuff like that, but yeah, I'm not. I definitely got all the English genes. All you gotta do is just look at me. Look at the type of women I like, the type of food I eat. I drink my tea every single morning. You know, I'm more English than I care to think.
Okie doke.
All right. So think about this ridiculous concept. That would mean you would have to cap your income. I mean, we get 160 hours a week.
Yeah.
Right? So
168.
what did I say?
160.
Oh yeah, 168. I'm sorry. It says 168 here. I got to read it. You know, I got to be able to see it with my eyes.
Well, eights and zeros. Well, an eight is two zeros put together.
I got to put the thing closer to me like this, I guess. So
I got to take you to CVS to get some cheaters, maybe.
Yeah, I know. It's an ego thing. So, anyways, we got 168 hours a week. So many podcasts ago, I point blank said, okay, so what's the difference between your 168 hours a week and Donald Trump's as the real estate guy? Or what's the difference between your 168 hours a week and give me the guy that owns Amazon? What's his name?
Bezos?
Bezos, yeah.
Jeff Bezos?
Jeff Bezos.
Hey, how about this one? Arnold Schwarzenegger has this new series. It's an interview with him. I just saw a preview. Like, what? And you know what he said on it? He goes,
What?
you know, a lot of people, they worry about they're depressed. They worry about this. They worry about that. Why don't you just keep busy? Keep working. Keep doing things. You can't get worried about anything. You're too busy working. So I keep moving. I keep working. And that's Arnold Schwarzenegger. That was last night I saw. That's pretty good, huh?
I think if you're listening to us and you could actually send us a message, you should score that a 1 to 10 on his interpretation of Arnold Schwarzenegger. 1 it was really crappy, and 10 it was really good.
I never tried that before. I was winging it. No, but the point is what he said. You know, it says, hey, stop complaining, get busy. But not too busy because time does not equal money. But anyways, the point was stop getting sucked into your own mess.
So there would always be a ceiling for your income, and who wants that? And the answer is the uneducated.
Yep. I work 2 jobs, and then I work on the weekend. I mow lawns, and I stuff bags. I don't know.
And again, I referenced this in episode number 357. You are better off not trying to do everything, but instead focus on one skill or concept. A 1-inch hole, but drilling it miles deep.
Never heard that before.
That's a Billism.
That's interesting.
It's a Billism.
No, that's why I haven't heard it.
I kind of got the idea from, one of the books. God knows it's been so long now, but about how they talk about the guy that's digging for gold, and he's got a machine and he buys all the equipment. And, they go on for chapters talking about how this guy, what he did to try to find the gold. And then finally he gives up. He goes into town, into the bar, and he sells the equipment to somebody for $5 or something like that. And then The guy buys the equipment, doesn't even go look at it, doesn't even do nothing. He goes and hires some engineer, and they do some math, and they figure out where the veins are and all that, and they move the machine like 10 feet. And the guy became a multi-billionaire. So that's what I mean by you dig 1 inch hole and you just go deep because you know what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
We all think of time in different ways. For one person, driving a car at 150 miles an hour for 60 seconds may make them feel like it was time disappearing. Another person, it could be very exhilarating and give them a high. Like, oh my God, that was awesome. Right? For someone else, it may feel like the longest 60 seconds in their life. They can't wait for it to get over.
The person in the passenger seat that's screaming?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we all think of time differently, right? So what we need to do is we need to kick the time equals money belief to the curb. So kind of like, and I was when I wrote this, I wasn't sure if I wrote this, and now I get ready to say it, and I'm hesitant to say it, but I'm going to say it. So kick the time and money belief to the curb like a cheating girlfriend.
Ooh.
Instead, think flow. The way energy flows. How fast or slow things move, especially when you're in a deep flow. Right? Time ceases to exist, right? Like, you know, when you're concentrating on something, you know, like for example, you know, I'll wait all week to be with my grandkids and have them for the afternoon, and it's like, where the hell did the afternoon go? Because I was into it, I was surrounded by it, I was experiencing it, all my perceptions, everything was tuned in to what we were doing, nothing else mattered. Right? Which, by the way, I will tell you, the reason why I am writing all this stuff, excuse me, and the reason why these podcasts are being written is because what I'm about to tell you, I've been practicing. And as you know, I was just on a 6-week sabbatical. And one of the biggest lessons for me is because I'm preparing myself for a 4-month sabbatical, which I hope to do next year. I've been trying to do this for several years. And that means unplugging from my business, unplugging from my life. And this is the closest I've gotten because I was gone for 6 weeks. And thankfully for real estate, because if it wasn't for real estate, I couldn't do this. I mean, I took my family, I took my 2 daughters, their 2 spouses, and my 2 grandkids, and my wife and myself on vacation for a week. And I paid for the entire thing. And Peter, there's nothing like, you know, we go down to the pool, and I go up to the guy, there's a bar there. We rented a cabana, right? Nobody else we rented a cabana. Everybody else is in the sun. We got a cabana, which I paid for. And I go up to the bar where they serve food, and I said to the guy, I gave the guy my credit card, and I said to him, I said, if I find out that you let any one of my party pay for something, you're not getting a tip. And they ordered hundreds of dollars. I mean, they got drinks and food, and it didn't even faze me. And I did that multiple days.
Yep.
Right? And it was because it's a different level. So I'm not saying that to brag. I'm not saying that to boast. I'm just saying that could be a lifestyle.
That's what everybody's here for. That's what we want to be doing, you know? I mean, the thing about time, people are here because they want to shorten time and make the money without putting all the hours in. We're looking for the short time.
The true benefit is not that. Those are the physical world manifestations. The true benefit is that when you can unplug from, and I'm going to cover this next week, or on episode number 359 in detail, when you can unplug from the 80% of the crap that you have in your life, and you could truly work on the 20% or concentrate on what you're doing, it is amazing. What used to take me 3 hours, I now do in 30 minutes. Because it's clear thinking. It's a different way of living. It's free space. It's just, I can't explain it. I have not been able to articulate it yet. It is a new way of living. It is powerful as hell. It is powerful as hell. Right?
Sounds good.
So with that said, I'll drop it there, and we'll pick it up on episode number 359. This drops me right into the bucket of, or brings me to, a multi-million-dollar mindset. And that's what I want to talk about. This, and I've been doing a couple podcasts about this because I have been able to extrovert from my life, and I of course I read a lot, and I've been studying, and I've been working on my self-enhancement, and I've just realized some things about myself that I didn't know about myself until I didn't be myself. Right? So if that makes sense. So here we go. The point of today's podcast. And I had no idea how important this was until I started practicing it in the last couple of months. And I'm telling you, this was an undercut that I did not know was there. And I'm so glad that I found it, because it catapulted my life. Emotionally, intellectually, and physically. Setting clear boundaries. Setting clear boundaries. When doing this, it becomes less to do with skill and a lot more to do with boundaries. Clearly defined boundaries are my secret weapon, my new secret weapon. They are what allow me to work as much or as little as I want. Now, I'm saying boundaries, and I'm gonna eventually probably not say this, but it's also called acceptance level. So boundaries and acceptance level are synonyms in my mind at this point. Okay? Boundaries allow me to make a great living and have a life at the same time. So let's talk about my boundaries. How do you set
And
it?
when you say boundaries, you're not. I mean, boundaries usually mean like limitations.
That's right. I'm going to give you 4 of them right now. That I'm going to give you exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The 4 boundaries that I'm using.
Okay.
Okay. So 1, what am I willing to do or won't do to get a deal? What am I willing to do or not willing to do to get a deal? Number 2, what am I willing to do and won't do once I get a deal completed? 3, what are my expectations, or what my expectations are and how I will meet them? And 4, and the most important, last but not least, what the seller's expectations are and how I will meet them.
That makes sense.
So I'm going to repeat them, and then we're going to cover them one at a time. So I'll give you more reality or more clearer thinking on it, okay? So, and this doesn't work just for real estate. This works for everything in my life. Right? Like if I want to take 6 weeks off, what am I willing to do and what am I willing not to do?
Right.
And so if you listen to them, they work for anything. I just put them into creative real estate, right? So, number 1, repeating them. Excuse me. What am I willing to do or won't do to get a deal? 2, what I will do and I won't do once I get the deal completed. Number 3, what my expectations are and how I will meet them. And number 4, what the seller's expectations are and how I will meet those. So you're going to see in a few minutes why this is so powerful. This is absolutely, positively catapult material with goals. and your aims. Am I being clear, or am I talking?
You know, I'm not following you as well as I used to, so I'm just listening to as you go on so I can hear examples of that.
So number one.
Just go ahead. Just
So
give us
number one.
examples.
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of. It might be too lofty, right? So number one. What am I willing to do or not do to get a deal?
Okay.
What I won't do is $5 an hour work. Lately, I won't even hire and deal with VAs to find me deals. And this one attitude from me has hundreds of my clients extremely happy, only because it is how we came up with and built Creative REI Replay. This boundary of what am I willing to do and willing not to do. I didn't want to be on the phones every day. I didn't want to be dealing with the lists and all the minutia and all the crap that's I say $5 an hour. It's actually $10 an hour, but I didn't want to have VAs and manage VA. I've done all this. I didn't want to do that anymore. I'm not willing to do that anymore. So I searched and I searched and I searched and I searched for years. You know this because you often would, you and Sean, who are two of my partners, would often query me on like, why don't you just get on the phones, Bill? You can make so much money if you just got on the phones. And getting me on the phones is hard these days because I don't want to do it. I've talked to thousands and thousands and thousands of sellers. Yeah, I get that it makes me money, but there's got to be a better way.
Well, there's a natural progression in life that you want to move up from whatever you're doing.
Right.
You know, you go through different levels. Like you don't want to teach beginners. You don't want to be in kindergarten or grammar school anymore. You want to be at high school or graduate level. It's just a natural progression. You want to move up.
Right. So what am I willing to do or not do? Like for some of our listeners, like, am I willing to work 2 hours a night and not be with my kids or not?
Yeah.
Am I willing to spend the money for Creative REI Replay or not? Am I willing, like these are questions, these are barriers that you set for yourself. And it's not just one size fits all. It's all your activity. Am I willing to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go to the gym and exercise so I could look good? Am I willing to go to a party and not eat sugar and eat all the cake and candy so that I can feel good or not? I mean, this fits in every aspect of your life. It's freaking amazing. It's the story you're telling in your head. This is a compound of the scariest story in your head. Right? The scariest story in creative real estate is between your two ears, and it's a compound. It's more explicit from that theory. And by the way, it's probably these barriers are subconscious, most of them.
Oh, you either make them or they're made. They're there. And boy, if you don't know what they are, they're subconsciously made or as reactions to things, or just one day you decide and then you're stuck with it.
It's like when I first, what you're saying, when I first ran into the idea that, you have jobs in life.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that you are posted with that job. I'll give you an example. Every morning I get up and I make myself a protein shake and a cup of tea. For the last several months, probably 6 months, I also make my wife breakfast. I make her eggs and I make her coffee and I make her a full breakfast. Now, here's the problem. Because I do that every single day, it's now become an expectation of her, and I just bought that job. I now have that job of making my wife. So when I don't make her breakfast, like I have to go somewhere, do something, she's like, "You didn't make breakfast this morning?" Right? So by my habits and by my actions, I ended up with the job. So take a look at that. I mean, one of the most profound things I ever did when I first started coaching creative real estate is I had people take a piece of paper and lay it landscape or lay it sideways, long ways, left to right.
Yeah.
Draw a line down the middle and put on the left side all the things they do in the course of a week. It was even like, when do you shower? When do you grocery shop? When do you have sex? When do you eat food? When do you see your kids? It was everything you did. You just marked them down on the left side. And on the right side, you mark down all the things you want to do. And then the exercise was take those things on that piece of paper, all those items you listed, and start plugging them into a calendar.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same thing. It's like, what are you willing to do and what are you not willing to do because you put it on your calendar?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's an amazing concept. Like, what am I willing to do and what am I not willing to do? And the not willing to do's, you're going to find are going to be more prominent than the ones that you're willing to do. Am I willing to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go to the gym so I could look good? Because here's what that question provokes. What is looking good going to get for me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what it's going to provoke when you ask
Well,
that
it's
question.
Like, the thing of like asking somebody why 5 times and
Right.
something like that until you find out, well, what do you want to look good for?
Right.
Like, what do you want to get up 5 to exercise? Why? To look good. Why? And then, is that worth it or is that important or not?
It could be that I'm single and I'm looking for a significant other and I want to look good. Okay, that may be important to some people. For some people, it may be, my wife is really hot and I want to make her look good. Those might be important to people. Like, why do you want to make $1 million? Why do you want to take time off to just relax and have less stress and pressure? I got to tell you right now, if you don't work, speaking from vast experience, if you don't work, if you don't have a purpose in life and have something to do, you will ruin your life. You need to have a bigger something to stop working for. Right?
A bigger purpose?
Yeah, something, a purpose or an aim or a passion.
A reason?
A reason, yeah. All right, so that's number one. Does that make sense? What am I willing to do or not do to get a deal?
Yep.
Like, am I willing to get on the phones an hour a day or not get on the phones an hour a day? Am I willing to make offers or not make offers? Am I willing to, go out and visit people? Like, what am I willing? Am I willing to put away 4 hours a week to do this? Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, is my new mantra. You'll find this on podcast number 359. I'm going to steal Tim Ferriss's idea of the 4-hour work week. Because I've actually
4-hour work week
for creative real estate.
Oh, okay.
I've actually figured it out.
Wow.
Number two. What I will do and won't do once I get a deal completed.
Yeah, that's what I want to know more about. What do you mean by that?
This one is huge for me, but was extremely difficult in the beginning, meaning COVID years.
No.
I don't rehab any longer. You know that because I told you I don't want to rehab any longer. In fact, we just had a deal we were looking at this week, and what did we talk about? How not to rehab it. Notice how the deals bounced around. They would hit the rehab button and they would get ejected.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about it, but it just wasn't worth it because I'm not. It's like this one is huge for me, right? What I will do and I won't do once I get the deal completed. So I needed to go into a special recovery unit for this one. This is like I was an alcoholic and I had to go to recovery, or a drug addict. And no disrespect to those people, but I had to go into like a recovery unit.
Yeah.
It was hard giving up $30,000 to $90,000 profit and start doing deals that paid me $400 to $1,000 a month. It was like learning how to walk or talk all over again. But it set me free from time equals money. So basically the decision was, what am I willing to do and not willing to do? Well, I wasn't willing to do the rehabs and go through the effort of finding those deals, and then the effort of finding the money and funding it and doing a closing with all the attorneys and all the legal beagles, and it was so difficult. All the I's were dotted and T's were crossed, and you had to, God forbid, you got up one morning and you were grouchy, you would blow a deal because you might say something wrong or miss something because everything had to be pinpointed. Then you get the deal purchased, and now you got to go hire contractors, and you got to do a scope of work, and God forbid you miss something in the scope of work, right? One way or the other, right? And you miss something in the scope of work, and then you got to deal with the contractors, and that was the ace in the hole for me.
That was the worst. I think it's worse now too.
since COVID, yeah.
Yeah, my son's got a house. He just needs a few things done, and people show up the next day with, "I'll give you a quote by the weekend." 2 weeks go by. Where's the quote? All words and like, where's everybody? That's a couple little jobs too. It's nothing big. Whoa,
so the problem with that industry is exactly what you're saying. Is you can go on like Thumbtack or Rabbit or one of those websites, and you can. But see, here's the thing: those guys are licensed. I'm not saying I'm not being disrespectful to those guys, but a lot of those guys are like one-man show, two-man shows, right? A lot of times they don't even have like workman's comp. They're handyman type of guys. They're hard workers. They do great jobs, but they're not like that really skilled person. Or you can go hire somebody to manage a job for you. You pay 20% more, and you get somebody there that will manage it for you, right? So it's always that. Well, I could save the 20% and manage myself, and then you end up with, my daughter. I had to take my daughter to school, so I didn't show up until 11 o'clock today, or I had to go buy supplies, and I had to go to East Bumfuck to get the supplies. Pardon my French. It's just hard.
Yep.
And you brought it up on many podcasts. It's like, imagine going to work this week and not getting paid on Friday, and imagine going to work all month and not getting paid at the end of the month. And then all of a sudden, 6 months later or 7 months later, you get this big payday and it covers all that stuff. Like, who can wait that long?
Yeah, it takes real hard nose to do that. People get so used to the hour at the end of the week, money shows up, and it doesn't show up this way.
So the point is that I mean, the only way I survived is it was a roller coaster. My financial scene was booms and depressions. I'd have a lot of money, because I just finished a renovation, and I'd have $60,000-$80,000, or in our case, I'd split that with you, so I'd have half of that, right? So like I'd have that money, and then I'd have to start all over again, because it was like I was too busy doing the renovation, and I wasn't looking for new deals because the renovation sucked up all my time and energy, and I wasn't able to like generate a new deal. Or if I did generate deals, I started doing 2 or 3 deals, and then all of a sudden I had 2 or 3 renovations going on, and then you come along and you're like, "Bill, this kind of looks like shit," or you're not gonna. You should have painted this over here, and I would miss little details. Or you should stage this. Nah, we're not gonna stage it. You know what I mean? Because it was all money then. You know what I mean? And now all those things provoke holding costs. I mean, I can go on for 5 podcasts about renovations because we've done a lot of them. I've done a lot of them. Mm-hmm. The point is that I consciously made the decision that what I wanted was a portfolio that I could manage, and I have rental properties, I have apartments, and not many of them, but I have them. I have 3 apartment buildings, and I have single family houses that I rent on rent to own, which they never cash out. They're set and forget properties, and that has changed my life, because now I'm able to go on a 6-week sabbatical and not worry about it. So
you know what's funny about that? It's like having a job, because it's steady cash flow. Right. Like, okay, you've been there in my house for a month. Give me the money, time, money. Right. But you're not actually working. You did the work, and it's on automatic. Now,
and I still do work. Don't get me wrong; it's not easy. I mean, you still have problems, and we still have it, but it's not. It's a lot less. Mm-hmm. It's 5 hours a month, if that. 10 on some bad months.
Right, but you got a steady flow now too. You have a predictable flow of things that you can add to and increase that steadily and all that. Now, I want to ask a question. When you're saying all this stuff, you're not telling everybody they should be doing this. This is where you are at this stage of your game. Right. So if somebody's at the beginning, they're young and they can swing a hammer and they want to do some renovations, knock yourself out until you get tired of it.
Well, yes and no. Yes and no. What I'm telling you is, don't do what I did, be in the business for so long and flip, and never keep any of them. You should definitely keep onesies and twosies a year. Yeah. And build your portfolio as you go, and then eventually you won't have to do the flips. Or maybe you're a contractor and you love doing that stuff. I don't. Right? Maybe you're your own contractor. Everybody has a different game. My point is,
that's what I'm saying.
My point is,
you get to figure yours.
And I keep cutting you off, but the point is that when I'm looking at a deal, I know what I'm willing to do and not willing to do once I get the deal. Mm-hmm. So I structure the deal to my liking and to my lifestyle. Yep. And it makes it clearer for me when I'm doing the deal on what my exit strategy is.
So you know what you want to do when you go in, and that makes it easier to get in. A lot of times, I know the new guys are nervous going in because they're not sure what they're doing with it, right?
Yeah, so I want to be careful what you're saying because I want to make sure that we're clear about this because I've had trouble with this with my coaching clients.
Sure.
So I do not go into a deal with a fixed idea that I'm only going to do rent to own and I'm going to get monthly.
No, but you have it limited to of the things that you're willing to do, whatever they are. You have some idea what you're going to do. You got a message coming in?
Yeah, John, he's a contractor.
Oh.
So as a GC, it's too sporadic. It cost and quality in and you are right, John, because that's one thing that COVID brought on is the cost of materials.
Yeah.
I mean, our buddy is a radon guy, and he told me that a 10-foot piece of pipe went from like $6 and change to $28 and change.
Yeah.
In like 6 months.
Yep.
You know, so.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. So here's what I'm saying. Listen to the words carefully, because they are very carefully put together. What I will do and won't do once I get a deal completed.
Yeah.
Okay, so does that mean that I'm not going to do deals because they don't fit into my program, into my plan? Yeah, well, see what I mean?
Well, I personally, I know you. I know you have a big enough viewpoint that you have a number of ways to do things, and you can decide when it comes what you're going to do with something.
So
you're not restricted.
I want to dumb
open.
this down because I don't think I'm getting understood here. So
okay, go ahead.
When I'm doing negotiations, I'm gonna do what the seller needs and wants. So if I do a deal structure and I end up with a renovation deal, does that mean I won't do that deal? No, what it means, because it says once I get the deal done, what am I going to do once I've completed the deal?
Right.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that deal and I'm going to sell it to somebody else. I'm not going to do the renovations. Or I'm going to make the price of the house which we did. We did a house in Meriden. We bought it for, well, how much did we pay for that house?
I wrote a check out of my HELOC, $27,500 and paid the entire house.
And we did $60,000 worth of renovations, and we sold it for $200,000. We made $90-something thousand.
Yeah, $199 something. Yeah.
That is kind of hard to ignore. We had it wholesaled for $38,000, and we decided not to do it. That's what I'm talking about. So
yeah, and you can make those decisions after you buy it. So I'm not saying that you have to know what you're doing when you buy it. So you do that part, and I'm saying that you don't worry about what you're going to do with it because you have enough options that you can do whatever fits your boundaries either way. You have 3, 4, 5 options, and you pick the one that you feel like.
Not options, not like an option deal. You have enough choices.
No, choices.
Yeah, you have plenty of choices because you did a good job with purchasing. So that's where this comes from. Like what will I do and won't do once I get a deal completed? Yep. So the first one is what am I going to do or not do to get a deal?
Yep.
Then once I get the deal, what am I going to do with it? What are my boundaries? What am I willing to put up with and not willing to put up? I just told you for $90,000, I would and if I don't have any trips planned and if I don't have a bunch of things going on with Creative REI Reply and my schedule allows it, then I might do a renovation. If not, I would have taken the $38,000 and just wholesaled it because I had that ability to do it in that example.
Yep.
Right? And oh yeah, by the way, do you have to make that much money on real estate?
You don't have to.
Could you
That's
wholesale,
way above normal the averages.
Could you wholesale something for $1,000 or $2,000 or $5,000? Absolutely. Help pay for some marketing or put some cash in your pocket? Why not? Doesn't mean you shouldn't do the deal with your seller. It just means that once you get it, you know what you're going to do with it. Yeah. Like a lot of people will just do a slot deal. Slot deals are nothing more or nothing less than wholesaling lease options. They make their profit and they walk away. They don't want to be collecting payments and doing all that stuff. They don't want to worry about any of that. All right, let's move on. Number 3. What my expectations are and how I will meet them. First of all, did I clarify that for you, Peter, number 2?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So what my expectations are and how I will meet them. Okay, again, I covered this in podcast number 358. I'm sorry, number 358. But the point I want to make it right now is this is a very foundational law of mine. I live by this law every single day. I use this as a measuring stick almost hourly if I need to. Here is the law. Frustration is a function of expectation. So if I am frustrated, I'm looking at my own expectations. If I expect my wife to do something for me and she doesn't do it for me, let's say I expect my wife to stop working at 3 o'clock and be in the car with me at 3:15 so we can go do something.
Yep.
When she really works till 5:30 every day.
Yeah.
If she's not in the car at 3:15, I don't get mad at my wife. I look at my expectations. Well, why did I expect her to be there at 3:15? She works till 5:30 every day. So I'm lucky if she gets here at 3:30.
Yeah.
And I look at my own expectations, and by moving my own expectations, I don't have to be frustrated. And
Sure.
one of the simplest things that I do is I don't expect a lot.
It's less frustrating that way.
In other words, again, if you look at your frustrations, you can handle your frustration by changing your expectation.
Well, it's also more realistic too. I mean, you can hope for what you want and wish for what you want, but if it's not there, you're going to just annoy yourself. So why don't you start with what's really there, and then maybe you can make improvements on it. You can work things out with other people. I was trying to do this with my wife the other day. We're driving to an hour trip somewhere, and the car in front's going too slow, and she gets upset. The car swerves to the left, she gets upset. So why don't you just expect they're going to do stupid stuff and not be surprised and upset? Right. She goes, what do you mean?
Right.
So I explained it to her a little bit. So I wound up like, well, she's going to get upset when people swerve, so I won't expect her to. She won't. It won't bother me.
There you go.
That one. So do something, and then little by little maybe you can improve. But, don't annoy yourself today.
Exactly. All right, so I'm going to say this. I promise you that it is, I will not get the effect that I would like to get, the profoundness of what I'm going to tell you right now, until you practice it, until you use it. Mm-hmm. The stories you're telling yourself every minute of every day without proper evaluation or qualification is where your expectations come from.
Mm-hmm.
My saying, you've heard me say this is another one of my staple axioms.
Yep.
Where your attention goes, energies flow, and results show. I think I got that from, what is his name? The millionaire, what was his name?
Millionaire or billionaire?
No, the Canadian guy a long time ago.
I don't know any Canadian. I
forgot his name. Let me see here.
No, I take it back. I know 2 Canadians. I met them in Florida.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see his book.
But somebody came up with that.
Yeah, it was something I adapted. It's my own saying, but I kind of adapted it to him. Anyway, so where your attention goes, energies flow, and results show. So the story in your head is your attention.
Yeah.
So if your attention is on being broke with no money, the only thing you're going to get is more broke. Mm-hmm. If your attention is on a sore knee, you only get a sore knee or more body parts that are sore. Mm-hmm. If your attention is on I'm hungry, you'll get more hungry. Mm-hmm. Right? So what you need to do is do the opposite. So if you're hungry, you need to put your attention on how can I get food? Or if you're broke, how can I make money out of thin air without time?
Right. So many people worry about how to scrimp the budget to make money. Well, good to have a fixed job or something. Go make some more money somewhere. I can't. Yes, you can. You have to.
So my daughter's been calling me, Jessie. She works for a college, and she has this. They have this funding program. It's a funding. They fund her program to help kids, to help the students.
Like the state or federal?
Yeah, and she's got a bit of a suppressive person that runs the money. And she calls me, and she's been calling me, for a few months, having trouble with this guy, and to the point where he showed up on Monday, and he left her office, and she was in tears. So I said to her, you got to realize that, first of all, the guy's lucky because you can file harassment charges on him. He doesn't even work for the college. He just supplies the fund. And evidently somebody left a date off one of the documents, and he blew up. So just to kind of give you a live example. So I've been listening to her, and I've been thinking about it. And this morning I talked to her, and I said to her, Jessie, I'm going to help you fix your problem, because when you have oppression or suppression in your life, the only way to beat it is to flourish and prosper. Those people hate that. Yeah. When you do good, they don't want you to do better than them. They want you to stay down at their level.
Yep.
So here's my advice. Just based on what I just told you, I said to her, where your attention goes, energies flow, results show. What you need to do is you need to fire that son of a bitch. It's a $270,000 grant, which is not a lot of money. You need to fire him. She goes, what do you mean, Dad? I'm like, well, you've been talking to your president of the college, and you guys they're Northwestern University, I think is who she works for. And this program is a success in your college. They've been doing it for like 5 or 10 years. Mm-hmm. And she took over the shoes of another successful person running this program. And she's expanded it. One of her ideas is to have it in all the colleges in Connecticut. All the public, what do they call them? Community
State
colleges.
Universities?
Community college.
Right.
So I said to her, this was your dream. It didn't come the way you wanted. She goes, what are you talking about that? I'm like, what you need to do is skip the middleman, go to the federal government, and find out how you can fund all the colleges, not just yours. Put your attention on that. 10x your thinking. And go figure out how you could get the funding for all of the colleges. So put a list together of all the colleges. You're spending $270,000. Do the math. Make a PowerPoint presentation and start outflowing to people that would be able to give you that money. And then just keep thinking in your head, I can't wait till the day I get to call him up and say, you're fired. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, where your energy goes, where your attention goes, energies flow, and results show.
Yeah.
Number four. What sellers, going back to the other one, what I teach in the Flipping Houses for Rookie aspect is where your attention should go as a creative real estate investor is, who can I make an offer to today? Even if you don't know how to make offers, you will figure it out, because where your attention goes, energies flow, results show. So if you just concentrate, put your attention on who can I make an offer to today, even if it's a horrible offer, which I don't know how you can make a horrible offer, because if you write down this sentence and just say to your seller, what would have to happen for me to buy your house today, they'll make you an offer. Mm-hmm. And you just go from there. Right? So it's not the end of the world. Even if you just did that to start, you're going to learn something.
Yep.
Right?
That's true.
So where your attention goes, energies flow, results show. Number 4, what the seller's expectations are and how I meet them. I have made a very blunt and conscious decision about 3 weeks ago. This is the reason why, actually it was a little bit longer, but I put words to it about three or 4 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. This is the conversation in my head. Who can I help and be their hero? Who can I help and be their hero? Very profound. Who can I help and be their hero? Right? So what sellers' expectations are and how I meet them is that who can I help and be their hero? Mm-hmm. Right? This is where I lose about 99% of the crowd. Too many see my creative real estate deal structures and believe they can make offers, can offer them to any seller and convert them into a deal.
Yeah, because the numbers look right on a piece of paper, right?
Because of the math.
Yeah.
And I don't do this. Instead, I use number one, what am I willing to do or want to do to get a deal? See, I absolutely know it is a numbers game. Mm-hmm. Why work with people that don't want to work with you? Jay tells me that, our friend Jay. He brings it up all the time. He brings it up all the time. He's like, boy, that you told me that and it shattered my world. And I rebuilt it from that saying. Why work with people that don't want to work with you?
Huh.
Who can I help and be their hero? Right? So what you do is you sift through the congregations or the crowds, and you find the most likely group that will have the most amount of people that you can help and have them become your hero, or have you be their hero.
Yep.
Right? Is this making sense?
Oh yeah.
So it's a statement, right? Instead weed through the many to find the one who is valuable and beneficial to work with. This is where good marketing, automation comes in, and robust follow-up. Right? So going back to number one, I said that I didn't want to do all this, so I created software, which I created the software not because I want, because because I talked to you for, God bless you for listening to me whining to you for years about how I didn't want to start a software company because I thought it was too difficult. And now I kick myself in the butt because it was it difficult? Yeah. Was it something? It was a new way of thinking that I wasn't used to. Now that I have that thinking, I'm like, hell, how can I do another one? Right? Yeah. But the point is this. Because of number one, right? Rule number one. What am I? Let me go back and read it to you so I don't do it. What am I willing to do or won't do to get a deal?
Yeah. And
by setting those parameters for myself, the software company came out. I kept looking, and we tried this, and I spent tens of thousands of dollars, I believe, in software and trying to do things in VAs, virtual assistants, and I just couldn't make it work. Yep. But I got it now. It now. The only thing that I do now, and I'm not even doing that, I will be because we're putting more leads in there, is do the appointments. I talk to sellers and do the deal structuring because that's all I want to do. I don't even have to sell the houses. The software sells the houses for you. Right? So, that old saying, right? The teacher arrives when the student is ready.
Yep.
Right? Some people may not have the same goals as me. Right? So, my point is that the marketing does the sifting and the sorting so I could get to the one through the many. Right? It's like that old analogy. You tell me this all the time. It's like wrestling, right? Don't fight your opponent's motions. Use it to pin him to the mat. Right? Somebody's coming at you. Don't try to stop him. Just flip him over. Use his motion and flip him over and pin him to the mat.
Yep.
Right? So does this make sense? These boundaries, why they would make a difference in somebody's life?
Yeah, I mean, when you first said boundaries, I think people are going to think limitations, like you can't go past this. But it's like, in a way, if you don't have boundaries, you have everything. You can't do everything. Right. You'll scare yourself because you won't know what to do. So now you know what you will do, won't do, because you've named it. Once you've named it and it's specific, then you can work on that. You can do that. Otherwise, it's like the rookie's like, oh, I don't know what to do. What should I do? Well, narrow things down.
Right.
If you have too much to do, you won't do
it's
anything.
It's better called your acceptance level. That's a better name for it. What are you willing to do or not do for a deal?
Yeah.
Like, are you willing to listen to your wife yelling at you every single night because you're not helping her with the kids to do a deal, or not? Right. So we're at the hour. I'm going to drop the bomb on you right now before we go. So I'm going to talk about this in episode number 359. But there's a rule, there's a law that I've just learned. This is not from Grant Cardone's book. This is not from his book called 10X Rule, 10X Rule. Yeah. But here's what I figured out. If you think 10X 10 times, I'm not talking about Grant Cardone's book again. Right? What I've realized is, with regard to the story in your head and your boundaries, this is important. See, when you try to 10X, that means you have new rules and new ideas and new universes that you will enter into. If you try to 2X or 3X, it's just forcing yourself to do more of what you're already doing. Right? Right or wrong, if you're just trying to like go from making 100,000 to 200,000, it's just more of what you're already doing. But if you tell yourself you want to make $1 million, it's going to be like, oh, well, time versus money, doesn't work. And what it does is it actually makes things easier, because you're going to jump into a new set of rules, a new set of laws, a new way of thinking, because it's a whole different universe to make $1 million as it does to make 100,000.
Never thought of that. That's really interesting. You're right, though. If you're just doing a little more, is just more of what you're already doing. Something like big like that, you're like, well, how am I going to do that? It's a new game. You have to find something different or do it a different way.
We run into this with rookies because they're trying to do just a little bit more than like their job. So they want to put a couple hours a day in, they want to do just a little bit more to make more income. Instead of changing their mindset to being a real estate investor and committing to see, when you do 10X, you commit yourself to changing your life, to having new rules, having new boundaries, having new stories in your head, having change.
Yep.
Right? So,
well, I wasn't going to be getting any $40,000 checks from music lessons.
Yeah.
So, but real estate did. So, yeah.
So if you think 10X or 20X or 50X, you'll get outside of what you're doing now and you'll start to think in success. Because, like I said, 2X or 3X will only multiply solutions and variations that don't work right now. They work to make 100,000, but they don't work to make $1 million.
Yeah.
Right? Like me making the decision to stop taking $30,000 to $90,000 checks. And taking $400 to $1,000 a month, or $300 to $1,000 a month. That was my 10X move. Right? I had to change my way of thinking. I had to change my habits. I had to change my end goal. I had to reroute my marketing. I had to do a lot. And look what it did. It created Creative REI Reply. That was a result of that decision. That was a 10X move.
That I didn't know.
Yeah.
By the way, for anybody listening that's thinking, oh, hell no, I don't want that little money. News for you. Was it 2 years ago or so? You sold a house. It was Bristol that you had for maybe 3 years. It was a rent-to-own. And when the math was done between the deposit, the cash flow, and the equity when it was sold, you made something like $35,000 or $40 or something, which is damn good renovation money.
No.
Was it more?
That was just when I sold it. I had a $50,000 check that netted to be like $38,000. No, I made like $60,000 on that house.
60 even. So that's way more than a renovation. Now, renovation takes up to a year to do. If you're willing to wait 3 years to get the same money without renovating, you can do more of those. You can do 3 of those instead of 1 of those and have 1 every year, 2 every year, 5 every year. So it's not chump change in the long run. So it's building like a retirement fund or something. However you want to look at it, you're building future that way. Money now, money later,
Yeah.
money monthly,
Yeah.
and
So-
it equals same amount or more.
So
Think about it.
where your attention goes, energy flows, results show. So by giving you, and here's what happens is when you 10x, nobody else is 10xing. There's a lot less people that make $1 million than make 100,000. So your choices, giving too many choices and not allowing you to focus on expansion, but instead disperse your attention on all the other choices. When you 10x, you're in a whole different world, and there's less competition. There's less. You just got to figure it out.
Yeah.
And you know, like I said, when you know, like you want to make a portfolio, right? And you want to have you know, $1 million worth of houses. So what do? Do you buy 10 $100,000 houses? Or do you just buy one $1 million house? It's the same amount of work, same amount of effort, right? Same amount of profit, just you do one instead of 10.
Yep.
Right? So when you try to 10x or 20x anything, you'll soon notice that there are less choices and less distractions with your attention units because you're like doing the impossible. And you're concentrating on the impossible. And you're working on solving the impossible. Which means if you take what we talked about today and applied it to doing 10x or 20x, you'll soon see it becomes easier because there are less choices and distractions. I mean, if you're buying 10 houses at 100,000 and one house at $1 million, there's less problems, less distractions, less things that can go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right. So
Interesting.
you know, you want to do your first deal, and you only make 1 to 3 offers per month. Well, figure out how you could 10x or 20x that, and you'll soon find automation systems like our Creative REI Reply business in a box will meet all your boundaries like it's met mine. And I know you're thinking, because I know in our business, Creative REI Reply is not working that well, but it because we're making adjustments. But come a couple weeks when we start getting the leads in there, it's going to be, you'll see it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So all you need is boundaries or good, strong acceptance levels, not time. What are you willing to do or not willing to do? Don't dwell on what's happening to you, but instead take responsibility for what you are going to do once it happens. Right? I think Magic Johnson said something like that. I forgot what it said, but you know, like there's going to be ups and downs in life, but the only thing that you can't do is give up. Something like that.
Yeah.
And if you do like what I do, the last thing I'm going to say, and we're going to get out of here because we're at 1 hour 7 minutes. If you turn your losses into lessons, you'll soon feel better and happier with your progress.
Yeah.
Right. And this is important because I've been doing this and I didn't realize I wasn't doing this. In fact, I learned this from Benjamin, the book, Who, Not How.
Right.
Benjamin, I forgot his last name. I'm so bad with names. I can see the book over there, but I can't see his name. It's called Who, Not How. Just look it up on Amazon. Mm-hmm. And I learned this in that book probably 6 months ago, is if you're constantly looking at your horizon always moves. You have to stop once in a while, and you have to look in your rearview mirror and see what you have accomplished.
Yeah.
If you don't do that, somebody like me, you'll never be happy because you never hit your target because you never stop long enough to say, yeah, well, I hit this target, I hit that target, I hit this target, right? So how bad could it really be? And this is a Grant Cardone thing. Like, how bad could it be if you want to make 100,000 in his book called 10x? He's like, just shoot for $1 million. So you don't make it for $1 million, but you get to 300,000, 400,000, 500,000. That's better than 100.
Mm-hmm.
right? So, just look. Don't just look in the windshield all the time. Sometimes you got to take a look at the rearview mirror, and you got to gauge yourself for what you failed at. So the failures are your education. The failures are what you lose. And oh yeah, by the way, I'm going to talk about this in the next podcast. You can't use your past to guide your future. I mean, if you did, we'd all be walking around with diapers on because we started out crapping in diapers, right?
Yes, sir.
So we'd all be wearing diapers, and there wouldn't be such a thing as toilets, right? Seriously. You can't use your past to think in the future. Mm-hmm. So, a little profound today, a little bit different, but it's how I feel and what I've been learning. And usually I kind of dumb it down, but I decided to just give you guys like raw Bill thoughts. Episode number 359, which is in our case next week, but it's the next episode after we recorded it. You'll be able to just listen to it right away. It's called 4-Hour Creative Real Estate Weeks for Gargantuan Profits, and it's a Tim Ferriss thing, like I told you earlier. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. Make sure you leave us a review. Make sure you go into the description of this podcast, wherever you're watching it or listening to it, and click on the link and go check out our new tool. It's actually called creativerealestateanswers.com. You can go there if you want, creativerealestateanswers.com, and use it to answer your questions. It's as if you're talking to me. It's content that I put in there. I wrote it all. It's all my own words. It's all me. There is no chat GBT or nothing like attached to it. It's just a tool that it's like you're talking to me. It's like you're texting me. So go use it. Okay? With that said, over and out. Thank you for all your support. If you would like to make a comment or have a question answered, you can go to flippinghousesforrookies.com. Top right hand side, hit support. Those tickets come to me, and if you want to, Peter and I to do something for you or ask a question, send it there, and we will do what we can. All right, we'll talk to you on episode number 359. Over and out.
Thanks for tuning in to the hottest real estate topics on the planet with Bill and Pete. If you want to continue learning how to buy and sell real estate without money or credit, head over to flippinghouses.club for some cutting-edge real estate wealth tools. Or contact us at info@flippinghouses.club.